Hey guys, welcome to day 26 of the Lenten Devotionals. Today's devotional will be based on Galatians chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. So for a little summary or background at this time, Paul was writing to the churches of Galatia, and he was not really happy with the work of the Jews that was being done, who were proclaiming that the Torah needed to be followed kind of cut and dry in order for these people to be pleasing in the sight of God. Paul really wanted to enforce that this was not really the case, and that we were all saved and justified by the faith of Jesus and having faith in Jesus. So throughout chapter 6, there are two main themes that kind of stuck out to me. The first was living in community and the importance of it in our lives. And the second was that we are a new creation and that we are kind of set apart. So chapter 6 opens with the verse, "Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you may also be tempted." So I believe the main calling here is that we are called to keep our brothers and sisters accountable. I like that it said, when you are caught in a sin, because that kind of reminds me that sometimes sin can be unintentional. It doesn't have to be our intention to sin or do something wrong, but sometimes it can just manifest in our lives in ways, maybe with the way we talk, the way we act, or the way we joke around with friends in ways that we didn't really imagine and we didn't call for. So as we see here, if we notice this in our brothers and sisters, it is our job to kind of be there for them and assist them in the right way and kind of point this out, which kind of leads to the second point of restoring gently. I believe Paul wanted to emphasize there is no wrong intention, and when we restore them, there should be no wrong intention. We should be doing it for their best interest and to really help them out. You kind of have to understand their point of the story, maybe what causes sin, and that will make it easier to kind of restore gently in these situations. So moving on to verse 4, it says, "Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to others." So this reminds me of the question, are we striving to live lives that are pleasing in God's sight? Sometimes it's easier to notice kind of shortcomings in other people's lives, but do we keep ourselves accountable in that situation? And do we kind of compare our own lives before we start kind of really noticing shortcomings in others? I also like the section that said, without comparing themselves to someone else. God created each and every one of us with a purpose. He only wants us to chase after Him and focus on being more like Jesus, not comparing ourselves to those around us. So the last part of the living in community theme was verse 2 and verse 5, and kind of the contrast there was, and the comparison between carrying each other's burdens and then carrying our own load. At first I was a little confused by this, but then I really looked into the definition of carrying your own load and carrying each other's burdens. So your own load is the assignments that you're assigned to individually, like the tasks you have to accomplish, whether that's with your health, your position at work or school, or whatever that may be. These are the individual tasks that you should be striving to do well in, and that they're really permanent, that you should be keeping up with them. Your burdens are kind of temporary situations in your life that come in that could be kind of unexpected, or something that's been kind of difficult for a while, and it can be something that's really relatable to maybe different people, or something that kind of people struggle with day in and day out. And I believe that as a community we're called to help each other with this. It's important to share your story and let people know if you've been through a situation, how God worked in each and every situation. There's been stuff that may have been downfalls at some point in your life, but God worked and used that maybe that difficult situation to make something better happen in your life. And I believe that it's important for us to share that with others and remind them of that. So moving on to the second theme, the new creation. As Paul concludes the letter, he begins to kind of take over from the scribe and say in verse 11, "See what large letters I use as I write to you with my own hand." Paul really wanted to emphasize this last thought moving forward as he concluded the letter. And that is that we do not have to do anything of the world to earn the redemption from sin that was paid when Jesus died on the cross. We can see here that Jews really wanted to enforce that circumcision was needed in order to be pleasing in the sight of God, but Paul was writing no, Jesus paid the price on the cross when He died for us, and that exemplifying Him is the best way to get to Him, the best way to be more like Him, and the best way to be renewed and restored by our faith. So we shall assure this by carrying out the word. We do not have to do anything in the world besides chase after the Lord faithfully to receive the gifts that He has established for us. So for a quick summary of kind of what we covered, the first main point was that we are a community. We are called to be a community that keep each other accountable, but also that keeps ourselves in check. And the second part is that we are a new creation. The price that was paid for our costs will cover our sins. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I hope you have a good day.